Miss you all very, very much, but as I told you, last week was a really rough week for me. It was Father's Day on Friday in Portugal. Second time that I spent it without my son because of COVID. So it was last year and this year. And it was not a happy week. Anyways, we are back on the stream today and this week. And today what I want to share with you is my method to read for when you need to frame a paper, okay? And what I want to share with you today is the application of this method to this revise and resubmit that I got from MS Quarterly, which is super difficult and super risky, and I don't really know what to do. So I follow my method, okay? And I want to share it with you. Okay, so here's the reading list. So basically, what I do is the software that I use is basically has this feature with labels. Okay, so I'll show you. I have 4 labels. So color label, which I have red and critical, that's the red papers. Red and useful, that's the green papers. And red and not useful, that's the blue papers. Okay, so here's my method. The first thing that I do is I go on the journal that I want to submit the paper to, or for which a revise and resubmit is for, and I look at all of the papers that use my same empirics, okay? And why empirics? Well, because I don't know what my theory is yet, right? So I can't think about a research topic, but I also cannot read all of the papers in the journal. So data can only carry you so far. So my idea, my view is that basically if you search for your data, so in my case it's business intelligence systems, you'll basically come across most of the ways this has been addressed. Okay, so I went to MS Quarterly, to the website, and I searched for business intelligence, and I searched for some synonyms. So these are expert systems and executive information systems. Okay, how do I know this? Because I sort of know this literature. You can find this on any undergraduate textbook on information systems. This sort of like second half of information systems in organizations, where the purpose is to analyze the data rather than to collect data. Okay, so that's what I did. And then I built this reading list, and I read to the papers and made notes in, let me just silence this, and made notes, give me a sec guys, sorry, yeah, do not disturb. And, and keep paper notes in Scrivener. Now, paper notes in Scrivener basically are for 3 things, okay. So one is about ideas for the frame of the paper. The second one is about insights about theory that are useful when I write the theory section. And the third are actual quotes that I may want to use in the theory section. I have this very sort of analytic approach to literature reviews, where I basically read papers as if I was reading data for a qualitative paper, for qualitative data. Just finishing my coffee over here. So I do want to collect quotes also that I want to use in my paper. Okay, so after I've done all of this, what I do is I go through the red. So red is the critical, red and critical papers, and I see in Google Scholar all of the papers that's cited. Okay, so I go to Scholar and I go this. Okay, so there you go. Okay, so I'll look through the papers that cite this, And basically what I do is I look until I reach single digit citations, okay? So that's here. So you see here's 11, that's it, okay? So it's 2.5 pages, and I basically read through the abstracts of these papers, and I decide whether I need to add this to my database or no, okay? So for example, I'm looking at the role of people in MISs. So these may be useful, literature review on realizing value from big data. This one, which is about dynamic capabilities, that's more macro, sort of like an OT sort of paper. So, I'll probably like take a look at the abstract, but this is unlikely to go into the database. So I'll do that, okay? And I'll just do it once, okay? So I'll go to the critical papers and then read the papers that cite the critical papers. Occasionally, yeah, there may be something in the references for these papers that I find useful, but 2 rounds. Why 2 rounds? Again, to fight procrastination, perfectionism. You will never know the whole literature, but remember, I have read every single paper on my empiric, so on business intelligence, that has ever been published in the journal that I'm targeting. So that's already comprehensive enough, and I'm taking a second round, but only for the critical papers, okay? Only for the critical papers. So if you see here, and we sort by label, you'll see I have 5, okay? So it's not a lot, and that's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to be, okay? So I do these 2 rounds, and after these 2 rounds, I sit down and I write the framing for my paper. I've actually, as you see, I still have a couple of papers to read. I haven't finished them, but I'm already relatively close to the final framing for the paper. So it's an iterative process. It's not like, I wait until the end. I keep taking notes, keep thinking, and keep, writing down possible frames for the paper until I feel happy with what I have, okay? So after this, what I will do is, once I'm sort of like comfortable with the framing, I will read the red papers, the red and critical papers again, just to make sure that I didn't get carried away with the framing, that I'm looking at something that has been said before, and also that that I'm not like building straw person arguments and so on. So I read the critical papers again, and if I'm happy, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down, go through my reading notes of everything, so the red and critical and the red and useful, and I'm going to do an outline for the theory section, and if I can, the discussion section, but sometimes just the theory section. It depends on whether I need to work on the data a lot or not. In a revise and resubmit, typically I don't need to work a lot on the data. That's just because I'm, one of my strong skills is in qualitative data analysis. So I'll probably do the discussion as well. For this paper, again, you see I have a couple of papers here that I haven't finished. So I haven't done that yet. So, and after I've done sort of the outline, I will read through the useful papers again, just to make sure that I have everything in mind, not just what's on my notes, but all of the papers in mind when I sit down and write the theory. And basically, it's not like I'll be reading this and sort of like, okay, it's in my memory, I can go. No, I'll be making small notes, small edits to the outline, and so on. Okay, so that's my method. That's how I read. Why is it important to have this method? Well, I would say that this is a useful way to read, but also it is about when you're like me, that you struggle with self-confidence, and you tend a little bit towards perfectionism. Having a method, having a set of steps like pushes you through writing, okay? Prevents you for spending, and I have done this before, 8 months reading to have the perfect theory section, you know, only for then reviewers to tell me you need to change the entire theory section. So you need a good theory section, okay, but not the perfect theory section. Okay, so let's just recap the method, and I then will let you guys go. Search your target journal, and eventually, you know, leading journals in your field if you can't find a lot of pieces in your target journal. Search your target journal for papers that draw on data on a research setting that is similar to yours. Salespeople, business intelligence, reporting systems, you know, volunteer leadership, whatever, okay? Search for empirics, because you don't know the theory yet. So just look at what other people in the same journal have done with data that are similar to yours, okay? Read those papers and classify them into read and critical, read and useful, and read and not useful, okay? Obviously, you can just skip the read. You know, if they're classified, that means you read them. But, you know, just helps me get a sense of progress, I guess, having read written there, okay? After you're done so, reread the critical papers and outline your contribution and the theory section. Outline, okay? Like high-level outline. And then go through your reading notes and through the read and useful papers and write down the entire theory section and discussion section if you haven't changed your data a lot or if you already have your data analyzed, okay? Then, once you've done this, then you have a theory section in draft stage in Scrivener. And if you recall, a couple of weeks ago, I did a video telling you then how I moved from the draft stage to the published stage in Scrivener. And again, the lesson is, what is important is that, you know, you go through your steps so that you have opportunities to think through, to make it better, but that you don't get caught in perfectionism, okay? So I hope this was useful for everybody. I want to apologize again for not being around last week, but you know, again, it was a really, really, really rough week for me. Being a father is the best thing that happened to me. Not being with my son on Father's Day is really, really rough experience. So I apologize for not being around, but you know, back to streaming on the regular schedule, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good one.